Thank you for joining us for an episode of That Solo Life, the podcast for PR pros and marketers who work for themselves. People like me, Michelle Kane with Voice Matters, and my ever-steady co-host Karen Swim of Solo PR Pro. Hi, Karen. It's another
Hey,
day, another podcast. Yay. How are you?
Great. You know, the one thing that I'm so proud of us for doing is we are so consistent.
We are. Check us out. We keep coming back and doing this, but, and it's fun. It's fun. And we love keeping our listeners informed about things. And even though we are all thankfully, hopefully pretty busy, you found a great article that we're going to talk about a bit today. It was in Inc. magazine, I think. Just someone's, how they did more with less, which I'm all about that. Get more done by doing less. Hello.
I love this article. It was in my inbox this morning. And maybe it wasn't fresh from this morning because I don't always keep up on the emails, but we will link it in the show notes. But the title of it for, if you just can't wait, is called I Unknowingly Traded Time Management for Time Minimalism. Now I get more done by doing less. And if you think that this is yet another gimmicky thing on productivity, as I read this article, I found a lot of merit and I felt like it spoke to a lot of PR pros. It speaks to the highly motivated, super productive among us. And that, I believe, really, truly describes solo PR pros. We are all about productivity. We want to get the most done. We are highly motivated. And because we're entrepreneurs, you wouldn't have stepped out and started your own business if you weren't highly motivated. And we have to keep that motivation high, right, to satisfy clients.
Yeah. I think a lot of times our expectations of ourselves, not that we're up in the clouds unrealistic, but I think we can be harder on ourselves than we need to be.
Always. I will raise my hand. I will raise both hands to that.
Me too.
Always. And I've gotten a lot better, but I'm not all the way there. But I related to this because I feel like there are these constant validations on my own journey that are showing me that I'm on the right track of dialing it back. And part of this, for me is the pandemic shifted a lot of things, and it made me, like all of us, look at life a little bit differently. And I started to get rid of things, and like meetings. I don't do weekly client meetings. I do them once a month, and they're still short. They're like half an hour. Sometimes if we have a lot of stuff to go over, they may be 40 minutes. So I gained a lot more time back in my week. So this article, here's some principles that you can take away. Number one is, rather than putting a whole lot of energy into these big goals and setting yourself up to need to achieve more, do less. Everything really, less. And what I loved about this is that this person realized the more that they did, and as they gained more time, they just filled it, but not necessarily with all of the life parts that we should be tending to. You fill it with more work things.
Yeah.
And the article was written by Kelly. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the last name right now. And the spelling leads me to believe that this may be female, but so I'm just going to say she, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. But she talks about how she ended up, working 12-hour work days and being exhausted on the weekends and not being very fun, and then having more rain checks for personal things than actual friends. I can relate to that. That was me for so many years. I had friends. I neglected them, except for the ones who live out of state, because that made it easy.
Yes.
So I loved that awareness of sometimes when we do the most, we're only repeating the cycle. We're being so productive that we're giving ourselves more room to do the most and then do more.
Yeah.
But if we dial that back,
you
actually gain more time and you actually get more done because you're not focused on like chunking it all up and getting it all done now. So in what ways can we look at our day-to-day and think, how can I dial this back? Still be successful, but what can I really like strip away? Like I gave up on inbox zero. That I don't know why that was such a goal. It's like, who cares?
I never got on that train ever. I know myself too well. I
To achieve it. And I know there's all these hacks. And, at some point, like at the end of last year, I thought about just archiving every single thing in my inbox and starting clean. But what's the point? It's just going to fill up again because I do not have time to read stuff. And I did unsubscribe from a ton of stuff. So now my new stream of emails is very low and my clients do not email me. I get very few client emails. So my inbox is not a problem. All that other old stuff that's there, it's there. Some days I, might spend 10 minutes and like get rid of stuff, but it's, do I really want to spend my time on something that is not having a high ROI?
Right.
Something else.
Right. Is that going to make me money? No. Might I need to search for an old email to remember what I said to someone or to look up information? Yes. So that is not going to be deleted. It's funny. I was years ago, someone was presenting something and they pulled up their Gmail account and it had like 50,000 emails. And I saw people wince at that. And I thought, oh yeah, man, why not? I mean, I'll go through each day and I'll delete the things like you. It's like, oh, I don't have time to read that. Yeah. Okay. These are important.
Yeah.
I don't need to. If it's not going to make me money, then no, I don't need to have inbox zero and I don't need a sticker or that's, for some people that might be the way they motivate themselves, but nah.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, and here's the line from this article that I love. Everything that mattered most to my quality of life was everything that could easily be postponed or put aside.
Wow.
Like how many of us have put off a dinner with friends, a massage,
a yoga class,
just time to read a book. I mean, how many of us you put that off because, and what do? You fill it with work stuff. Maybe it's time to think about how our high motivation is costing us and start to look at shifting our priorities a little bit. And sometimes we're forced to do that. Sometimes, and I'm somebody that prefers not to be forced. I'm sure all of you are too, because we all have a certain amount of control freak within us. So you don't want your health issue or health of a family member or something tragic to force your hand in learning how to pay attention to all the parts of your life. You'd rather do that on your own terms. And in this crazy world that we live in right now, where I just don't even have a roadmap for this. I'm sorry. If I had it, I would tell you, I would point the way to you. I would map it out. I would drop a pin to you on your iPhone. I have zero idea. But I do feel like 2023, which already feels like it's been 200 days long, is a good time to start to re-examine deeply how we are approaching work.
Yeah. I mean, we can take advantage of, we're still coming out of, we're in this post-pandemic phase, even though, of course, COVID's still around, of kind of reevaluating why are we still doing X the way we do it. And I am guilty of that 100%. I'm still in the midst of this crunch project and it's like, come on, let's go. And I think especially as solos, because we are so driven, it's challenging, right? Living where I do in the Philly region. Yes, we have the sads today, but we'll get over it. Just seeing other company Facebook posts, right? Of, on Friday, we had a tailgate party at our job. I'm like, oh, they took like an hour and a half or two and had fun during the workday. Oh, and they're still in business. We need to remind ourselves. I'm not saying throw a sad little tailgate party of one for yourself, but you can be driven without driving yourself into the ground. And I'm speaking to myself as much as anyone else. And even now, as I'm saying this, I'm like, yeah, okay, after this week, you're going to really start doing that. Maybe later this week. I don't know. But it's...
stop putting yourself off. But also, I think that making this shift, and I like the idea of time minimalism, instead of thinking, how can I get the absolute most done? How can I bring it all out? Change your thinking. Like, what do I really need to do today? How
Yeah.
can I do the least and have time for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And you pointed out something that is really interesting. Last week I took time off. A friend invited me to hang out and go get lunch. And
Awesome.
it felt so weird because I promise you,
Yes.
I might run an errand occasionally during the workday, but not even the way that I used to pre-pandemic. That used to be kind of the norm, but I got out of the habit and it felt so weird. Like, I'm supposed to be, like you have all these things, but normal people. And when I thought about it back in my corporate life, we would meet friends for lunch. It was like, I loved that. I really enjoyed getting together with, girlfriends for lunch and
Yeah.
recharging and catching up. And I never, ever felt guilty. Not once.
Yeah.
Not ever. So I had to just check my own thinking and go, why do you feel weird or guilty? It's okay for you to do this. And
Right?
I mean, we practice to give ourselves these moments to live
Yeah.
our life because nobody else is going to do it for us. And, unfortunately, unlike, I had another girlfriend who just retired and she lives in another state and she had this big retirement celebration at her job and they celebrated her so nicely. And then another group of our friends had a big celebration. And I thought, when we retire from being a solo, nobody's going to throw us a parade.
Right. Right.
And so it makes me, and I don't find that sad. It just is another mental check that is up to me
Yeah.
to have those moments because I don't have to retire to do all of the things that retired people do. I have more freedom right now
Yeah.
as a solo than people who work in offices and have to show up at a physical location the same time every day and they can only leave at a certain time and they're limited to lunch. We already have freedom. We should be exercising that and we should have the best quality of life. And actually, statistics bear this out that we actually do have a higher quality of life, but it can be even higher if we start to shift our priorities and understand that we don't have to leave it all on the field every day. Don't do that because then you're empty. And then you limp into the rest of your life and you're annoyed with the dog and the cat and you don't want
Everyone.
to talk to you and you don't want
Inanimate objects.
anybody. Yes.
I don't know.
You're
I'm just suggesting. I don't know this from firsthand experience or anything. No, it's so true. And oh my gosh. And we know it. We know it cognitively. It makes sense. You go, yeah, that makes sense. So why don't we do it? What is we're such masochists sometimes.
I know. And this is so as Michelle and I are taping this episode, there are a couple things happening. We're post Super Bowl and sorry, Eagles fans. The
Sorry.
Chiefs win. Congratulations to the Chiefs fans on your win. And we're Valentine's Day. And so, if we're thinking about romance, we want to love ourselves, whether you are partnered up or not, and we want to love our businesses. And I think the way to love more is to have enough room in your cup to do that. Extend that love to yourself and extend that love to your business by not getting so buried in the doing of it all that you're not enjoying it. And, joy is a part of it that allows us to bring creativity and innovation and fresh thinking. If we're just, grinding it out day after day after day after day.
Why are we doing this?
Yeah. Why? Don't.
Yeah. Well, right. If that's how we have to solo, then you have to stop and think, okay, what do I need to adjust? What do I need to rethink? And I will say, a lot of the time we need to check ourselves. Why am I doing this to myself in this way? And it could be saying yes to less things, work or not work, or, it could be work adjacent things that you just need to say, nope, my plate is full. And when I say my plate is full, it means, the days are getting longer. I want to go for a walk after the workday is closed. I want to enjoy cooking dinner and not just say, I don't know. all those moments. It's probably one of the more challenging things we have to do, let's be honest, because it's so easy, because we love what we do so much. It's just easier to work. And then I don't have to think about that.
Listen, I've always said that work is my happy place, but I am learning to find other happy places that have nothing to do with work. And in year one of the pandemic, work was my haven. Work and my dog kept me from crawling under the bed and never coming out. But I was really tired. I was really tired. At the end of 2020, I was exhausted, and 2021 was just as busy. I mean, and my grief over all the things that had transpired was a little delayed in some ways, because I just put my head down and worked through the whole thing.
Yeah, me too.
I just never looked up. When I looked up, it was to grab my dog in her leash and walk for insanely long periods of time on empty streets. And then come back and eat Twizzlers. But that's a call for another day. No longer eating Twizzlers, no longer working insane hours, looking up, smelling roses, and all of the other good things.
Yeah. So we encourage you, you'll hear this after Valentine's Day, but keep that mojo going and share with us. We want to hear from you. Hit us up at soloprpro.com. We want to know, how are you going to take this minimalist approach to time? And please share this around, subscribe, keep the goodness going. And until next time, thanks for listening to That's Solo Life.